Our protagonist wakes up rubbing his eyes as he shivers and finds that it is very cold. He wonders why it is so cold as he looks around. His eyes widen in surprise as he looks in front of him only to see a sky full of stars. He wonders what it is. He is somewhere in space when he stares at his hand and wonders if it is a dream. It feels very real, but he turns around in his seat, wondering where he is. He then thinks back to what he was doing yesterday and remembers that he had come home from work like he always does. After eating his dinner and taking a bath, he played video games and went to sleep. He's sitting on the chair, thinking about it when realization strikes him. He gets out and realizes that it is from the game, and the place he's at is the Krishna's cockpit. Stella Online is an online game with a taste of sci-fi and a very high degree of freedom. One could be an adventurer traveling all over the vast universe, or they could acquire a container ship and become a merchant. It is a very popular game where every player has a different experience. Our protagonist is the standard mercenary player, and he's really into the game too. He's gone through a few ships with the money he got from working as a mercenary, but he finally has his favorite ship, the Asks-08 Krishna. He's happily looking around when he starts shivering as he thinks that it is still really cold. He looks at the screen and wonders if it is like the game. He activates the generator and turns on the life support system. The life support system shows that it is 12C in the room, and our protagonist realizes that it was pretty close. If he had just stayed asleep, he would have choked to death. He then sits back on the captain's chair, thinking that for now, his life is not in danger. He sits silently, wondering what exactly happened to him. It is not unusual to dream about a game that one has been playing a lot and wonders if it is a lucid dream. But there's no sign that he would wake up, and he can feel the change in the room's temperature, so he does not think that it is a dream. He props his head on his hand as he thinks about it for a minute, when all of a sudden, he smiles and says whatever as he gets up from the chair, saying that he's starting to feel gloomy as he shouts, saying that he should be positive. After that, the spaceship is flying through the space, and our protagonist is looking through the controls as he thinks that it is surprisingly easy to handle. He had a little bit of a hard time with the joysticks and the foot pedals, but once he got a feel for them, it became easy. He can actually move more precisely when he controls it directly like that than when he used to use the keyboard and a mouse. He then decides that now that he can move the ship, he needs to confirm his current location. But then he gets a shock as he realizes that there's no map. Our protagonist is in a bit of a situation as he has no money, either as this part did not carry over from the game. He looks at the inventory and finds that he does have some food and also has rare metals, and there's a lot of it. He thinks that it is wild. In the world of Saul, there's a chronic shortage of rare metals, so they're very valued commodities. It is very easy to trade them for enil in any colony or station, as rare metals are like gold or jewels. The enil is the game's electronic currency. It does not have the hassle that comes with using physical currency, but its downside is that every transaction is logged. Some people want to avoid being tracked by that log, and they're crazy about getting those rare metals. Our protagonist then thinks if it is the same like it was in the game. All of a sudden, warning signs start blaring when the ship informs our protagonist that they're being scanned by a ship of unknown affiliation. Our protagonist sighs as he thinks if it is already that situation. All of a sudden, a screen pops up from where we can see a man who calls our protagonist and asks him what he's doing in a place like this and if he's taking a nap. The man is bald and has only a single eye. Our protagonist says to the man that he shouldn't mind him and they can keep going. Our protagonist thinks that the man must have detected him when he had fired up the generator. The man asks our protagonist to not talk like that, and that if our protagonist shares some of his cargo, they're not going to do anything. Many ships start popping near our protagonist's ship as another warning comes to our protagonist, saying that many unidentified ships are coming off FTL travel. Our protagonist then says to the man that he would like to refuse as he can only sell it to the man for a fair price, and asks him what he thinks about that. Our protagonist then takes a look at the screen where the data for the unidentified ships is being displayed and thinks that the people have a lot of room for cargo. But the ship's armament hasn't been serviced well and thinks that it is the typical pirate spaceship. The man then says to our protagonist that he's going to say it again, and our protagonist should just give them his cargo, and they would spare our protagonist's life. Our protagonist's face becomes serious as he says that it is unavoidable and asks the man to not resent him. Our protagonist suddenly presses the button on the joystick as his ship's engine flares up and the ship zooms away. Our protagonist suddenly grunts as the G-force makes him stick to the seat. The man is shocked as he thinks that our protagonist's ship is very fast. But all of a sudden, our protagonist's ship brakes as it makes a U-turn and compartments open on the ship's exterior from which guns come out as laser beams shoot out from them. The beams pierce through the shield of a pirate ship as they make multiple holes in it. Internal blasts start happening in the ship as the whole ship explodes. The pirate is shocked as he thinks that the ship has transformed, and it has destroyed the pirate ship with the shield in one shot. He then looks toward the screen, where there is a transmission coming from another pirate ship, which is shouting that he does not want to die, as he's being targeted to be our protagonist's next. Our protagonist's guns have already aimed toward the ship, which is trying to escape, but is too late as the laser beams strike the ship, causing many internal explosions resulting in the ship being fully destroyed. The pirate is trembling in fear as he looks at what has happened, when all of a sudden our protagonist's ship pierces out of the smoke cloud, and as the pirate sees our protagonist's ship, he starts to tremble as he curses him and shouts that he's going to kill our protagonist. The pirate then aims toward our protagonist's ship as he fires his guns. The laser beams miss our protagonist's ship as he does a maneuver escaping out of the way. The pirate is furious as he aligns his ship with our protagonist's as he fires again. But this time, the beams are stopped by the shield on our protagonist's ship. The pirate is shocked that it did not work. Our protagonist then turns his ship toward the pirates as he starts rushing towards it. The pirate is terrified as he says to our protagonist to go away as he repeatedly fires his guns, but the beams are all stopped by the shield on our protagonist's ship. The pirate is trembling in terror as he asks our protagonist to stop, but our protagonist fires his gun and hits the pirate's ship accurately. The pirate ship is hit accurately as the damage piles up, and it ends up exploding. Our protagonist stops his ship as he's panting in the cockpit. He's about to vomit as he covers his mouth with his hand as he feels sick. The ship did not completely block the G-force. Even after all of this, our protagonist still hasn't woken up, and thus he realizes that everything is actually real. Our protagonist then wonders about it as he says that if one really thinks about it, it might not be such a bad situation. The Krishna is the top-of-the-line ship in Saul, as it is very nimble and maneuverable, and its firepower is on par with heavy cruisers, and it is on a completely different level than those pirate ships. This thing was made very clear in the last battle, so even if our protagonist is a mercenary in Saul, he should be able to make a living here the same way he did in the game. He then thinks if it is same like the game as he looks through the tablet, and he finds out the reward for taking down those pirates is 19 zninel. And if he refilled his energy and replenished his ammo and serviced the ship, he would still get some change back. He then looks through the cargo that he had recovered from the pirate ships and realizes that there does not seem to be anything of note in there. He then finds a data cache in the cargo. The data are the coordinates of stations in the star system. And as our protagonist does not have a map, so he actually really appreciates that. And the data even have the coordinates to the space pirate's base, and our protagonist could get some good money if he sold it. Our protagonist then looks through the map to find a place where he could sell the information and collect his reward. He then finds a trade colony as he goes toward it. When our protagonist reaches the trade colony, there's a communication message for him as it informs our protagonist that it is the port authority of the trade colony named Termain Prime, and that our protagonist's request to dock has been accepted. Then the person who sent the previous message asks our protagonist as he apologizes, saying that our protagonist's name's data seems to be corrupted. Our protagonist then thinks how his data was erased from the ship. He thinks about his name, which was Satu Takahiro, but his name does not fit this world, and our protagonist thinks that he really should use his Sol name. So our protagonist informs the person saying that his ship's name is Krishna, and that his name is Hiro, and he's Captain Hiro. A man is asking Hiro about the place from where he got all these rare metals. Hiro, annoyed from the questioning, and says to the man that he has already told him how he snatched them from some space pirates he took down. The man then tells Hiro that Hiro isn't affiliated with the mercenary guild, and he does not have any identification either. He asks Hiro if he expects him to believe the words of a self-proclaimed mercenary. Hiro becomes dumbfounded as he does not have an answer to that. The man then asks Hiro if Hiro won't tell him where the rare metals came from, and Hiro replies with a question, asking the man if they can just stop the useless back and forth. At that moment, somebody enters the room. It is a girl in a uniform with a sword hanging at her waist. Hiro turns around to look at the girl in confusion about who she is, as the girl looks back at him. The man questioning Hiro is surprised as he shouts the girl's name, calling her Miss Serena in shock. He then runs towards her nervously, asking Serena why she's in the interrogation room. Serena replies that she saw an unfamiliar ship in the hangar bay. She then looks towards Hiro, asking if he's the owner of the ship as she extends her hand for the tablet the man is holding. The man nervously replies yes, while Hiro waves at Serena. Serena looks at the tablet, saying that there are a lot of rare metals, and asks Hiro if there's really nothing shady going on. Hiro confidently says that of course nothing is going on. Serena thinks about it for a moment, asking Hiro if there's anything else he wants to report to them. Hiro replies yes, saying that he found what he thinks are the coordinates to the pirates' hideout in their cargo. He is claiming his reward, so he wants to hand that over while he's at it. But as soon as he showed his cargo, he was dragged into the interrogation room. Serena keeps silent for a moment, while the man who was interrogating Hiro stands behind her nervously and in fear. Serena then asks the man if he has any proof that Hiro's cargo is stolen. The man is confused as he replies no, to which Serena says then they have no problem. The man is shocked as Serena continues, saying that they can get rare metals for a fair price, and Hiro can receive proper compensation. Hiro would spend that enel in the colony, and because of that, everyone would be a winner. The man tries to refute, but Serena interrupts, saying that now that she's thought about it, she's been hearing rumors of staff harassing ships entering the colony and demanding bribes. The man is a little surprised hearing that as he suddenly keeps quiet and sweats nervously. Serena then requests the man in a threatening tone, asking him that if he learns anything about that, could he please tell her the daughter of Marquis Moras. The man starts stuttering for a moment before he stands in rapt attention, shouting yes, and that he would of course do it. He then salutes Serena, saying that he will take care of the formalities as he runs out of the room. Hiro is watching all of this happening when he suddenly hears Serena apologizing to him, saying that some people are a little too devoted to their job. Hiro then laughs, saying that he really does seem suspicious. Serena agrees, saying that Hiro's data is completely blank aside from his name and ship, and that it is as if Hiro has wandered in from a different universe. Listening to that, Hiro becomes a little stunned as Serena stares at him, asking Hiro in confusion about what happened. Hiro plays it off, saying that nothing happened, while he thinks that Serena is a sharp lady. Serena then asks Hiro how he ended up in this star system. Hiro replies that there was actually some sort of accident while he was in hyperdrive, and he guesses that is why his memory is hazy. Serena tries to say something, but Hiro continues, saying that the space pirates thought that Hiro was weak and attacked him. He somehow managed to defeat them and ended up here. Serena thinks about it, saying that all of a sudden, she's finding it hard to believe that a hyperdrive accident happened affecting Hiro's memory. Unfortunately, she could see Hiro being accused of being a spy. Hiro is shocked as he asks what she means by a spy. Serena replies that the main office would wonder if Hiro was not a spy from the Belebrum Federation. Hiro is confused about what she's talking about as she repeats the name again. Hiro arranges his thoughts for a moment, saying that an unidentified mercenary showed up carrying a ton of rare metals of unknown origin and entered the enemy's colony through the dock with no attempt to hide. He asks if he really was a spy, wouldn't he find a better way to do this? Serena has a stiff face as Hiro stares at her, wondering if he's too pushy. But all of a sudden Serena laughs, saying that it is a coincidence, as that was what she was also thinking. A little while later, Serena apologizes to Hiro for taking so much of his time, saying that she will speak with the main office. Hiro thanks her as Serena continues and says that it is all and suggests Hiro to see a doctor about his memory, and says that she will introduce Hiro to someone trustworthy. Hiro smiles, saying that he will definitely take Serena up on that, as he thinks that Serena does not seem like a bad person, but she's kind of scary and beautiful, and he hopes that this is the last time he meets her. Serena then greets Hiro, bidding him goodbye, saying that until they meet next time, as she goes out of the room, leaving a confused Hiro in there alone. Later, Hiro goes to the bank as he checks his account and finds out that he has gotten 25 million enel for the rare metals, 10,094 enel for the space pirates, and 150,000 enel for the information. It is a total of 2,650.94 enel. He calculates it and finds out that if he lived in the trading colony, and if 1 enel was equal to around 100 Japanese yen, then he could stay here for 40 years. Hiro is a little overwhelmed by the money, as he recalls how until yesterday, he worked as an enterprise network manager, and it led him to a gray 27-year-old single life. Video games were his only joy, and since he was an omnivore in it, he liked both Japanese and Western games. That is why he had managed to climb to the top 10 of a certain game. He had gotten immersed in the world where he could use his own strength to work his way up without anything holding him back. But who would have thought that he would end up living in that world? Hiro then takes a deep breath as he shouts loudly, saying that he is so happy to be here in Seoul, surprising everyone who is present there. Later at Krishna, Hiro eats as he looks at the tablet and thinks about what he should do now. He could take it easy for a bit, but he does not want to just sit back and do nothing. So he has done some research in these last few days. First of all, he is in the Termain star system. The star system is composed of 4 planets and an asteroid belt and the primary star Termain. The first planet, Termain 1, is too close to the star, which means that the planet has a very high surface temperature and not a lot of utility value. Termain 2 is a gas planet composed of energy sources like deuterium and helium-3. The asteroid belt is a resource of minerals like rare metals. Termain 3 is a planet with a poisonous atmosphere and acid rain, but also a lot of valuable resources, and Termain 4 is a gas planet with useful resources, but due to its distance from the colony, it is mostly abandoned. Unfortunately, all these planets are not suitable for human habitation, but the star system is very rich in natural resources. Because of that, there is a lot of traffic from merchant and mining ships in this colony. But at the same time, it is exactly the sort of place which space pirates love. Basically, it is not hard for mercenaries like Hiro to find work. But that is not all, as this area is very tense right now. The star system is under the control of the powerful Graken Empire, but the relationships with the neighboring Belebrum Federation have been tense for many years. There have been constant skirmishes in the border regions, and if Hiro stays here, he is going to be dragged into this conflict. It should have been a good opportunity for a mercenary to make money, but fighting a regular army would not be like fighting space pirates, and it is too risky. Hiro has a vague feeling, but this world is not quite like the Saul he knew. The Graken Empire and the Belebrum Federation did not exist in the game, and he cannot find some star systems that were in the game. There are other differences too, so he does not know how much he can trust his knowledge of the game. Hiro then wonders if he should just fly to another star system right away. He then thinks about it for a moment, and after eating, he decides that he still has plenty of time, so he will go buy some food. After a little while later, Hiro is standing in a place as he stares off in amazement. There are rows and rows of buildings that rise upward due to the shape of the circular colony. Hiro thinks that it is kind of awesome. He is used to seeing this sort of thing in anime and games, but actually seeing it with his own eyes is exciting. All of a sudden, Hiro's senses tingle as he looks towards the side and finds a few people standing there staring at him. He then remembers how he had read that this section of the colony was not very safe and realizes that if he acts like such a country bumpkin, he is bound to attract trouble. Hiro suddenly parts his jacket away as his hand goes towards his gun. The people look at Hiro's gun, shake their heads in frustration, and go away. Hiro sighs as he walks away when someone calls him from behind, calling him a newbie. Hiro turns around in confusion as he looks at a girl who is saying to him that he has a pretty nice gun with him. The girl has pointed ears as she says hi to Hiro. Hiro stares at the girl in confusion, after which his gaze falls on the pointy ears of the girl as he wonders if she is an elf, and wonders if Saul has fantasy elements like that. He then thinks that if the girl is an alien or something, then it makes sense. The girl then scolds Hiro, saying that he should not stare at people like that. Hiro says that the girl jumped out all of a sudden, and that he thought that it was just common sense to be wary. The girl then proudly pats her chest as she says that there is nothing to be afraid of as she is a mercenary like Hiro. Hiro is stunned as he looks at the small melons of the girl, not receiving a reply from Hiro. The girl opens her eyes as she sees Hiro staring at her when she blushes and covers her melons, shouting and asking Hiro what he is looking at. Hiro replies that he is just thinking about the disparity between how conceited the girl is and how small her melons are. The girl is shocked from Hiro's answer as she blushes even more. Insulted by Hiro's statement, she shouts at him, asking what he means by that. Hiro scratches his face as he asks the girl what she wants to do with him. The girl then says that she wants Hiro to come with her while she kills some time. Hiro is stunned by the girl's answer as the girl continues and says that she has come here because tensions are flaring up. But they are not calling for mercenaries yet, so there is nothing one to do in the colony, and that is why she might as well kill some time guiding her country bumpkin Jr. Hiro thinks that it is very suspicious, but following the unfortunate space elf was a good chance to learn more about daily life in the colony. The girl then says to Hiro that she still has not told her name to him as she introduces herself as Elma and asks Hiro about his name. Hiro says his name to Elma. After hearing Hiro's name, Elma says that Hiro's name is pretty simple. Hiro replies that so is her name too. Elma egoistically asks Hiro what he is talking about as her name has one more character. Hiro does not want to argue more, so he agrees to it as Elma becomes prouder, saying that it is alright as long as Hiro understands it. She then says that now she, Hiro Sr., would lead the way and asks Hiro to follow her. Hiro sighs as he says sure and follows behind her. Elma is shouting at Hiro in surprise, asking him if he is unlicensed. Hiro awkwardly asks if it is that bad that he's not registered in a mercenary guild. Elma angrily says that an unaffiliated owner of a battleship isn't much different from a pirate, and it is a miracle that Hiro has made it this far. Hiro sighs in frustration, and Elma starts dragging Hiro, saying they should go to the guild right now. Hiro looks around in amazement at the guild office, saying it looks like a government office. Elma says it is not too different. Hiro says to Elma that it seems like Elma knows a lot about this stuff, and asks her if she's been a mercenary for long. Elma proudly says she's a 5-year veteran, and Hiro says she must have been doing it since she was very young. Elma says she's 53 years old. Hiro becomes dumbfounded as he says Elma looks young. Elma says that humans have a short lifespan, but the lifespan of her race is around 500 years. Hiro then asks Elma what she did for the other 48 years. Elma becomes a little awkward and doesn't reply, after which she blushes and shouts that it doesn't matter and rushes away, while saying that it is bad manners to pry into a mercenary's past. Hiro is stunned by Elma's actions, thinking that something very bad must have happened, and it was obvious as he sees Elma go away in anger. Later, Elma is greeting somebody as Hiro stands behind her, and it is a man with a mechanical prosthetic arm. The man asks what they want, and Elma puts her hand on Hiro's shoulder, saying he's a newbie and hasn't registered in the guild, but has been working as a mercenary anyway. The man realizes Hiro is unlicensed as he stares at him, making Hiro nervous. The man then turns towards his tablet, telling Hiro to send him his ship name and ID. Hiro stutters a yes as Elma laughs at him, asking if he's scared as she finds it funny. Hiro shouts at her to shut up in embarrassment. At that moment, the man makes a sound in disbelief as he looks at the screen, saying he's never seen Hiro's ship, and there are almost no records, not even records of him stopping in ports. Hiro laughs it off, saying the data must have gotten corrupted in the hyperdrive accident, and his memory has been weird ever since. The man suspiciously looks at Hiro for a moment, then disregards it, saying mercenaries don't pry into others' pasts. Hiro lets out a breath of relief, thinking that security is really lax, but it surely helped him. The man then says it is ready, and they need to test Hiro. Hiro is then standing in a place with many cabins with numbers in front of him. The man says they can't see how good Hiro is just by sending work his way, and says the cabins are simulators used for training, and there should be something that is similar to Hiro's ship and asks Hiro to choose. Hiro then looks at Elma and asks what's up with her as she smiles weirdly at him. Elma says it is nothing, as she just wanted to see how awkward Hiro would be, but she hurriedly changed her sentence, saying how majestic Hiro will be. Hiro doesn't have a reply as he goes into the nearest simulator, as Elma says she just wanted to see how good Hiro was. Hiro goes into simulator number 4 for the test. Later, while Hiro is coming out of it, the man informs Hiro that he passed, as Hiro says that's great, but suddenly asks the man what's with his expression. The man has a pondering expression as he says to Hiro that he had Hiro start with the beginner program, but gradually increased the level. Hiro realizes that and says he didn't really feel it, but it was getting tougher by the end. The man sighs and says the last one was the Gold Ascension program. Hiro is confused as the man explains that mercenaries have a ranking system with the lowest level being Iron, followed by Bronze, Silver, Gold, and the topmost level being Platinum, showing the combat strength of mercenaries. Hiro finally understands it, but the man says he can't just give Hiro gold all of a sudden as he doesn't have any actual achievements. The man then says for now Hiro is Bronze, and this way he can increase his rank while showing results. The man then turns towards Hiro, asking if it is all right. Hiro stares at the man for a moment, after which he says yes and asks the man not to give him gold right away, smiling and saying it would ruin the fun of ranking up. The man agrees, and Hiro asks him that he had been wondering why Elma was so cranky. Elma had puffed off her face as she was glaring at Hiro in anger. Elma then muttered a word after which she angrily shouted at Hiro with tears in her eyes, saying she had been doing this for 5 years, and she was still a silver. Hiro becomes a little nervous as he thinks that this is going to be a pain. Hiro suddenly has an idea as he says that he wants to stock up on food. But he doesn't know a lot about this colony, and if he only had a nice senior that would lead him to a good grocery store, that would help him so much. Listening to that, Elma suddenly starts laughing, saying she guesses that she has no choice, and that a newbie who cannot tell left from right really does need an excellent senior, and she would guide Hiro somewhere she likes and asks him to follow her. Elma then starts singing as she happily goes away as Hiro sighs, thinking that Elma is so simple. Later, they are at a place called Oishai Mart. Hiro is looking through the items as Elma asks him what he wants. He replies with a question, asking Elma what she would recommend. Elma says that if Hiro has cookware, he should think about food cartridges, and if Hiro isn't worrying about money, he could get artificial meat too. Hiro is a little confused about artificial meat, as he asks about normal meat and vegetables. Elma says only the richest people could eat that, and this place doesn't have that stuff. Hiro then realizes that's how it is, as farming in a colony is inefficient. Seeing Hiro stare at the shelves, Elma asks him what it is, and Hiro asks her if there aren't any carbonated drinks. Elma is confused at what Hiro is talking about, as Hiro explains that they're bubbly drinks like cola and soda. Elma is still confused as Hiro continues, saying there is juice, but not carbonated drinks, and Elma suddenly says she has never heard of carbonated rings, giving Hiro a shock as he falls to the floor in disbelief. Elma is surprised by Hiro's antics as Hiro mutters that God is dead. Hiro is in disbelief as he thinks that it cannot be like that, and that carbonated drinks do not exist in this galaxy. He suddenly remembers that he had heard that one could not drink them in space because of zero gravity or a problem with the pressure. But he wonders why he cannot find them in the colony, as he thinks that he does not get it and cannot even begin to comprehend it. Elma is worried about Hiro as she is wondering what has happened when Hiro suddenly remembers about planets and wonders if he could have it on a planet. In planets' residential areas, carbonated drinks might even be circulating as usual. Elma is crouching next to Hiro, asking him what's wrong and if he's alright, when Hiro suddenly stands up, shouting that he's going to buy a detached house with a garden on a planet. Elma is stupefied by Hiro's actions even more. She asks Hiro how he came to that conclusion all of a sudden, as she says that it is going to cost hundreds of millions of anil. Hiro becomes a little dumbfounded as he awkwardly says that it is nice to aim high, as Elma says that's fine. Hiro then says that having stuff delivered straight to the ship is convenient, as he's only carrying the things to eat now. Elma says the service here is nice for people on spaceships and says to Hiro that she knows a nice store and Hiro should thank her for it. Hiro says yes, as he says that that's why he bought Elma the juice she was drinking. At that moment, Hiro hears someone screaming as he looks and finds out that a few guys are harassing a girl who is shouting and asking them to stop. But the man is asking the girl to just be quiet. One of the men suddenly grabs the girl's face as he says that the girl is pretty good looking, and they should hurry up and do it. Listening to that, Hiro's anger flares up as his hand goes towards his gun. But all of a sudden, his hand is stopped by Elma as she asks Hiro to stop it. Hiro asks Elma in disbelief if Elma is telling him to ignore that. But Elma says that Hiro can tell just by the fact that an unarmed girl in a place like that, even if Hiro saves her here, she's not going to survive by herself anyway. Hiro grits his teeth in frustration as Elma says to him that it is a common sight all over the galaxy and asks Hiro if he's going to stick his neck out every time he sees something like that. Hiro looks around him as he sees the people ignoring it and walking away as Elma says to him that Hiro is just a mercenary, not a hero. Hiro goes quiet as he looks at the girl who is struggling and looking at him with pleading eyes. Hiro suddenly loosens his hand, saying that Elma is right, making Elma sigh in relief as she lets go of Hiro's hand. But all of a sudden, Hiro pulls out his gun, surprising Elma as she asks Hiro to wait. But Hiro asks to her that if Elma really thinks he was going to say that as he pulls out his gun and points it towards the man who is holding the girl who has lost all hope as he fires it. The blast from the gun hits the man on his hand as he shouts in pain and shouting and asking who it was. Hiro is a little surprised that he has hit the man and wonders if it is because he has practiced in the game. One of the men curses Hiro, asking him who Hiro thinks he is, but all of a sudden, Hiro fires his gun again, hitting two men at the same time as he points the gun towards them, shouting at them to get out of there as the next shot is not going to be on the lowest setting. The men grit their teeth in frustration as they run away. Hiro lets out a breath of relief as he turns towards the girl who is on the floor. At that moment, Elma comes near him and asks Hiro what he's going to do with that girl. Hiro also wonders what he's going to do as he silently stares at the girl, finally saying that he doesn't know. The girl that Hiro has saved previously is staring at Hiro, while Elma is staring at him without an expression as she sips her juice. Hiro is looking away, not daring to look at both of them in the eye, as Elma asks him what he is going to do about the girl. Hiro just looks away as he hums and wonders what he should do. Elma is in disbelief at Hiro's answer as she stands up, saying that she does not know and that Hiro has saved her, so he should figure it out. She then bids them goodbye as she goes away. Hiro silently stares at Elma for a moment before he says that he gets it. And that's all that Elma has to offer. Elma trembles a little as Hiro continues, and says that his senior Elma is just a cold person that would abandon her troubled junior, and he had thought that she was a generous senior he could rely on. Listening to that, Elma trembles more as the girl tries to stop Hiro, but Hiro continues, saying that he is so pathetic for not seeing that, and that he will have to ask the old guy in the guild, and he is sure that he can count on him more than a cold, slightly flat elf. Suddenly, Elma grabs Hiro's shirt as she pulls at it, and seriously tells him that she will kill him. Hiro tries to calm Elma down, saying that it would be a nice way to pass the time. He encourages her, saying that she can do it. Elma angrily asks Hiro to shut up as she looks at the girl who is trembling in fear. She then sighs as she sits back down in the chair and asks the girl what her name is. The girl replies that her name is Mimi. Elma then asks Mimi if she has anyone in this colony who she can count on. Mimi timidly replies no, saying that she does not have even one person. Elma then apathetically tells Hiro that he has heard Mimi and asks what he wants to do. Hiro tells Mimi that if she has nowhere to go, he can let her stay on his ship for now. Elma listens to Hiro's answer silently, after which she calls Mimi and informs her that Hiro is a mercenary that owns a spaceship and asks her if she has any useful skills. Mimi asks Elma what kind of thing she is talking about. Elma says that that answer is enough for her, and says that all Mimi can do is personal care like cooking, laundry, and being a night companion, and that's about it. Listening to that, Hiro is flabbergasted as he spits out his drink and shouts, saying that it is dirty and asks what does Elma mean by night. Elma replies back with a question, asking if that is not the reason why Hiro is letting her on the ship. Listening to the banter, Mimi is blushing as Hiro shouts back at Elma, asking her if she thinks that Hiro is going to do those direct lower body activities. She then asks Hiro, then what else is he after, as there are not any idiots in the star cluster that would help a useless stranger. Hiro is surprised as he looks at Mimi, who is blushing, and she starts muttering saying no. Hiro hurriedly says that he is not going to do that and asks Mimi not to worry. Elma says that she cannot tell Hiro what to do as she turns towards Mimi, saying to her that Mimi must not have grown up here in the third block. Mimi's eyes turn wide as Hiro is confused. Elma explains that this is not a place for a naive girl to be strolling around. She then asks Mimi that she has said that she has no one to rely on and asks her what has happened. Mimi is silent for a moment, after which she says that she is from the second block, and she had a very average life with her parents, but one day her parents suddenly passed away. Her parents were in charge of servicing the colony's oxygen infrastructure and were involved in a work accident, and for some reason, they were blamed for it and were saddled with the reparations that far exceeded her inheritance. Obviously, a student like her had no way to earn that much money, and in the end, she could not pay her residence tax in the second block and was chased out into the third block. Hiro and Elma listen silently to the story as Hiro asks if that could happen. Elma replies that it is pretty common, taking Hiro by surprise. Seeing Hiro being surprised, Elma asks if he has forgotten that too and says that Hiro must have been rich before he lost his memories, and in any case, Mimi has no options. Hiro then turns towards Mimi as he looks at her, after which he turns back towards Elma. Elma looks at Hiro's face in confusion for a moment, after which she is surprised as she asks in disbelief if Hiro is serious. Hiro is smiling and has a terrifying expression on his face. Next, we are at the third block's public management office, and inside Hiro is asking an official if he is serious. The official says yes, and that Hiro should let him check one more time. He then says that the poll tax, the residence tax from living in the second block, and the late fees of the still unpaid reparations, and two, which added the free movement tax, and the total is exactly 500,000 enel, and that is the price of what Hiro can call Mimi's freedom. 500,000 enel is equal to around 50,000 yen. Hiro then asks the officer to hold on and says to him that it is unreasonable to make a minor pay her parents' debts, and asks him if there is not anything like a renunciation of inheritance or personal bankruptcy. The officer says that it is not like there is not any, but unfortunately, they have passed the cutoff date. But if Mimi lives in the third block, she would be exempted from the charges, and on the other hand, this means that she would not be able to receive any governmental services. Hiro is frustrated as he asks the officer to listen, as he says that he is sure that even the officer could imagine what would happen if they threw a minor with no guardian into a place like the third block. The officer and Hiro stare at each other for a moment, after which the officer says that he has heard that being a mercenary was a profitable occupation. But he imagines that 500,000 enel is still not cheap, and if Hiro wants to have fun with that kind of girl, he is sure that there are more affordable options in the third block. The officer then smiles craftily as he continues, and says that he is sure that Hiro will be satisfied with that. And that is also not thinking beyond Hiro's means. Hiro's face has become serious as he stands up all of a sudden as he shouts and says all right, and that he will take that fight. Later, Elma is welcoming Hiro back as he and Mimi come out of the office. Elma is about to ask how it went, but she stops as she stares at Mimi, saying that she gets that she does not have to ask anymore as Mimi is having a stupefied expression on her face. Hiro agrees to it, saying that he had slapped the officer with enel. Elma says that it is nice, and that is how a mercenary does things. She then calls Mimi, who is not focusing as she hands her a bag saying that it is clothes for her, and some stuff she had picked at random. Mimi takes the bag as she becomes happy and thanks Elma. Elma sighs, saying that Mimi's troubles are just beginning as she wishes good luck to her. After that, Elma goes near Mimi as she starts whispering into Mimi's ears, and listening to that Mimi's face flushes red as she becomes embarrassed. Hiro is confused about what they are talking about as Elma turns to him, and she says to him that if he were to die then Mimi would be out on the streets, so Hiro should stop being so rash. She then says that she is going back to her ship and goes away as Hiro waves her goodbye while Mimi bows to her. Back at Hiro's spaceship, Mimi is taking a shower as she wonders when was the last time she had showered, and thinking that she is so happy. She then remembers about what Elma had told her. She then grabs the handle to turn off the shower as her hand trembles, and she closes her eyes while standing still in the shower. Hiro is having his dinner as he eats the food and thinks that artificial meat is good, and that although food cartridges are not bad either, but the meat is worth its higher price. He then looks at Mimi, who is not eating, and asks her if she does not like it. Mimi hurriedly says that she does, and it is very good, after which there is an awkward silence between them. Mimi breaks the silence as she asks Hiro what they are going to do after this. Hiro says that after this, he is going to take a shower and make plans for tomorrow, and that Mimi could just go to sleep. He says to her that Mimi should rest as she must be pretty tired. Mimi does not reply for a moment, after which she says that she will do that. Later, Hiro has taken a shower and is now sitting on the bed looking at the tablet and thinking that he has a lot of shopping to do if he is going to live with Mimi. He had tried looking into the third block, but it was full of stores selling shady products. The one Elma had showed him today was one of the few proper ones. He then says that he thought that Elma was an unfortunate elf, but she was not lying when she called herself a veteran. At that moment, there is a knock on his door as Mimi asks from outside if it is a good time. Hiro is a little surprised as he asks Mimi to hold on a second as he is in his underwear. But Mimi enters the room, and as Hiro looks at her, and is shocked as he sees that Mimi is in her lingerie. Hiro is surprised as he starts shouting in nervousness, asking Mimi to hold on. But Mimi continues coming towards him as Hiro shouts no, but Mimi instead hugs him. Hiro is surprised as Mimi says to him that she is here to fulfill her duty. Hiro is flustered as he says to Mimi that he had told her that was not what he wanted. But all of a sudden Hiro realizes that Mimi is trembling as he calms down and asks if Mimi is scared. Mimi blushes after knowing that Hiro has realized. Hiro continues as he says that he does not know what the idiot elf Elma had told Mimi, but she does not have to force herself to do this. Mimi says that she is scared. Hiro tries to talk to her, but Mimi continues saying that it is not like she is scared of Hiro or sleeping with him, and that is not it, as she is scared of being abandoned. Hiro is a little shocked as he shouts saying that he is not going to abandon her. Mimi says that she knows it as Hiro would not do that, but she is worried as she is useless, so if there was at least one thing she could do she would feel a little more at ease. Hiro becomes a little serious as he pats Mimi's head and smiles at her. He realizes that he has to make up his mind as he leans down and kisses Mimi. Mimi is soundly sleeping while Hiro stares at her. He then turns on his back as he wonders what he should do now. Regardless of how it has happened, this is where they are now. And Hiro cannot act just as he pleases and only think about himself. He has Krishna, his status as a mercenary, and his funds are not looking too bad. He is blessed with these three things, so his situation is not looking too bad. He did spend a lot of money, but just having Mimi here is not going to put him in any serious financial strain. But living just for the sake of it is dull and kind of bitter. He then smiles as he thinks that in that case, having an objective like buying a detached house with a garden might not be so bad. He has wanted it, so he could get some carbonated drinks. But now that he has Mimi with him, having a place to call home does not seem so bad. While thinking about it, Hiro has a sudden realization that he has completely forgotten his original world. But at that moment, he hears Mimi muttering in her sleep. He looks at her and sighs, pulling the blanket on top of her as he says, "Whatever." The next day, Mimi gets up from inside a machine as she looks a little scared, and Hiro is in front of a computer screen. He is looking at the screen when he says that the vital check is done, and that the results are all good, and there is no problem, and that there are no hidden wounds or diseases. Hiro smiles as he gives Mimi thumbs up, making her sigh in relief. Hiro then says that he is going shopping after breakfast, and that he is going to stop by the guild while he is at it, and asks Mimi if she wants to come or if she is too tired. Mimi replies yes, saying that she is fine. Hiro then says that it actually helps a lot as most of what he has to do is related to Mimi. Mimi's facial expression changes as she apologizes to Hiro, saying that she is giving Hiro so much trouble. Hiro suddenly goes near the depressed Mimi as he directly gets into her face, surprising her, and he starts pulling her cheeks. Mimi is fully surprised as she starts panicking, asking Hiro what it is. Hiro then asks Mimi to listen as he says that they are sailors, and if things go south, they might have to go half a year without resupplying. And if that happens, they cannot be caught undersupplied, so Mimi should stop with her silly reservations, and asks her if she understands it. Mimi says yes, and Hiro lets go of her cheek, saying, "All right," and that they should have breakfast. Mimi is blushing as Hiro goes away. After breakfast, they go out to go shopping, and Mimi is happily looking around. Later, they go to the store, and while Mimi is searching for lingerie, Hiro is a little embarrassed. He then finds Maid and other different outfits in the store. Later, Hiro is standing outside as Mimi comes from behind, and Hiro is a little surprised as he sees that Mimi has tried a new dress. Mimi awkwardly looks at Hiro, as if to ask if the dress is good. Hiro gives her a thumbs up as he smiles, making Mimi smile and blush. After that, both of them then go to the guild as the man that Hiro had first met is doing Mimi's registration as a crew member. He then informs Hiro that he has installed a teaching software on the tablet as Hiro had asked him, since Hiro had wanted to train Mimi to be an operator. He then says to them that people say that it is a pretty good AI trainer, and it will start from the most basic things about being an operator. Mimi hurriedly thanks the man. But at that moment, the man points at Mimi, asking Hiro how it happened overnight. Hiro says that it would take too long to tell the whole story. But the man suddenly demands Hiro to tell the whole story. Hiro is confused, but he does it. After listening to the story, the man is trembling as he says that something like that happened to a greenhorn mercenary on his first day. But in his 15 years as a mercenary, there was never that sort of bittersweet encounter, as he shouts in anger, asking why it is like that, and says that it is not fair. At that moment, other guild employees come as they restrain the man, asking him what he is doing, and that he is bothering everyone. The man still struggles as they shout at him to shut up, and they take him to the back. And Mimi and Hiro are looking dumbfoundedly at this scene. After they return back to the ship, Hiro is talking to Elma via video call as Elma greets him, asking how he is doing. Hiro says that everything is going well, but suddenly changes his mind, saying that he would not go that far, but his ship's maintenance is done, and he has resupplied, so he is settled for now. He then says that Mimi is feeling better too, now that she is not living on the streets, and right now she is in her room studying to be an operator. After that, he asks Elma what she wants, and that Elma must not have called just to chit-chat. Elma says that she is glad that Hiro understands, and she says that things have been tense for a while, but a large-scale suppression is starting. Hiro does not reply, as he thinks how a large-scale suppression is the type of event where players cooperate to complete an objective. A person's rewards depend on how much they contribute to battle, and it looks like it is the same in this world. Elma continues as she says that they are going to start recruiting people soon, and the suppression is about raiding the space pirates' hideout and mopping up their ships. She then asks Hiro what he thinks about it, as Hiro smiles, thinking that there is no way he is missing such a tasty event. A few days later, Hiro and Mimi are sitting inside his spaceship. There is 1 hour left until the operation starts. Hiro is looking at the screen in front of him, where different people have gathered. At that moment, from the main screen, somebody's voice comes apologizing to everyone for keeping them waiting. The person is none other than Serena, who is thanking everyone for gathering at such short notice. She then introduces herself as Captain Serena Halls and says that she is in charge of this operation. She then explains the operation, saying that it is actually very simple, and that they have discovered a space pirate base in the Gamma sector of the asteroid belt. Firstly, their space fleet would bombard it, and even if it is their base in the end, they are just space pirates, and they won't have trouble destroying it. But the army is not very good at minute work, for better or worse, and if the small ships get away, then they would not be able to chase them, and that is where the mercenaries come in. Hiro is able to understand it, as the true power of the space pirates is the speed of their small and medium ships. And even if they strike down their base, the escaping ships would gather and rebuild. And that is where the mercenaries' fast ships are perfect to swat down those annoying flies. Serena then continues with the plan, saying that in the first phase, the mercenary unit would hide in the area around the mark, and then in phase 2 the mobile fleet would initiate a frontal bombardment. After that, in the third phase, when the pirates try to escape like they had predicted, then the mercenary unit would intercept and send them into a panic. And at last, in the fourth phase, the fleet would take that opportunity to spread out and finish off what is left. The operation would end when they confirm that their target has gone silent, and she asks them if they have any questions. Seeing that nobody is speaking, Serena says that that concludes their briefing, but all of a sudden somebody interrupts, asking if they could ask a question. And it is none other than Hiro, as Serena stares at him for a moment, after which she says that Hiro could ask it. Hiro asks if there is an option to withdraw. Listening to the question, everyone becomes awkward as Elma facepalms herself. Even Serena is a little surprised by the question, as she sighs, saying of course, as she says that a living dog is better than a dead lion, and that they would not be upset even if they decided the risk was not worth the reward. But if they did not fight properly and ran with their tail between their legs, that would be a problem. Pyro then says that he was just saying, as at the end of the operation, it would not just be the pirates that were surrounded, and they would be too. And if they decided that the situation was unfavorable for them and decide to retreat in this formation, army could threaten them and tell them to fight to the death. After that, everyone becomes silent, even Serena too, as she thought about it for a while, after which she says that it was really a possibility that they could do that. But they would not do something so barbaric, and she swore on her pride as a soldier of the star system. Serena and Hiro stare at each other for a moment, as Hiro says that he would believe that. Inside the ship, Hiro is staring at Mimi, who is trembling in her seat. Hiro says to Mimi that she could stay in the colony if she is scared. Mimi shouts as she stutters, saying that she is all right, and that she would do her best to help with what she could. Hiro himself becomes a little nervous as he thinks that it is a normal reaction. That is a natural reaction when one is heading off to a deadly battle, and if anything, he is the one that is strangely calm. He guesses that the feeling that this is just a game is still lingering on his mind. At that moment, Mimi calls him, bringing him out of his thoughts, as she informs him that the control is calling for a takeoff. Hiro then takes his seat at the captain's chair, as he thinks that if that is the case, then he is going to enjoy the event. As he takes off from the colony going towards his battle with the space pirates, like, share, and subscribe to find out in the next video. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload part 2. See you soon.